Welcome to the 5th episode of the Lazare podcast. This episode features Connor Lake. He started a web dev company his sophomore year of college. It's called Stackend Solutions, and it solves a fundamental problem. The problem Connor solves isn't creating a website or writing code. You can always find a cheaper web dev in Indonesia or India. In reality, Stackend Solutions relieves stress for a premium. Customers can finally stop worrying about getting screwed on price or unnecessary delays. I speak from personal experience when I say that most freelancing platforms are full of people who will promise a lot and deliver very little. Luckily, Connor's a beast in this area. Today we'll talk about how he gets his clients to trust him, his insights on proper communication with his dev team, and the biggest challenge his company faces going forward. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my chat with Connor Lake. Welcome to the Lazare podcast, a place where I talk to exceptional individuals who have found their flow. In this first season, I attempt to capture the mental processes of entrepreneurs and explain how they started movements that make them tap dance to work each day. This podcast is for students, entrepreneurs, and anybody in between the two. Is it cool if you walk us through your story for how you started your own company?
Basically, about 3 years ago, I had a couple friends that wanted some help doing server stuff and some development stuff for their startups. They're actually really happy to the point that I stayed with their team and joined their effort. From there, it was just a matter of meeting more people that could use my help. It grew to the point that I had enough clients and I was doing well enough that I decided to make it a formal company in June of 2017.
What role did you start out with at that first company?
Basically, they were building an app and they needed help setting up a server to host their API and do some development on their API.
It sounds like you scaled slowly. Was there ever a moment where you felt like you were becoming professional? Was there any activity you turned down to work more hours, or was it when you formalized your LLC?
The real thing was the epiphanies of recognizing my business model and the sales aspect of it, and also recognizing how I would actually scale the companies. A while ago, I finally realized I can't be doing all the development myself, and I have to give responsibility and ownership to people to really get things done right. It opened up a lot of possibilities to scale, but also made me realize how hard it is to scale. So finding right people, making sure they're doing the right work for what they're good at, managing it all and making sure things run smoothly is stuff that all needs to happen to be able to scale, but it certainly doesn't come easy.
Did you wake up one day with a solution to your business model, or do you tend to chew away at business problems for a longer period of time?
It does depend. For instance, the way I actually set up my invoices, I've gone through a lot of iterations. At first, it was just hourly, and then it moved on to a fixed rate. Then I found the healthy balance of doing a little bit of both. And doing that was definitely a long and gruesome process of losing money on some jobs and really not taking the right approach to others. I stepped back and had the opportunity to realize that I couldn't just be doing all the development myself. And it sounds something that's obvious to be able to actually scale, but I had this idea that I could offload a lot of the trivial tasks and focus on just doing the really hard stuff myself. But it dawned on me that if I want to help as much as possible, I have to be able to provide great development, but also embrace this mission that I have to be an ally and a friend to the startup that's becoming successful. And if I want to offer that personal touch and be able to go on phone calls all the time and talk to my clients and really help them out, more than just the development we're doing, then I would have to have more development done by my team and less by myself. It's kind of a combination of stepping back and looking at things and also just the trial and error. I mean, figuring out the right answers for exactly what I'm doing has been quite the process. And the one thing that I wish I had more opportunities now was being able to find things that could be improved. There's this funny comic that my friend showed me, these two Lego guys carrying a cart full of bricks, and there's no wheels on the cart. And there's a guy behind them saying hey, I can help you do this better with these two wheels. The two guys pulling the cart are saying, no, we're too busy to improve. It's something that I resonate with because sometimes I just have so much stuff to do and so many follow-up emails and so many calls and so much actual development that has to be done that I don't have the opportunity to step back and really look at the process and see the key points that could be improved on or where I could be getting more leads. My biggest thing now is trying to find really good team members and make them do really great work that they're skilled at.
Once you started expanding and once you removed yourself from the code-facing side, what were some unexpected secondary effects? Were there any other areas of your life that changed positively or negatively, or other areas of your work that changed once you made that philosophical shift that, okay, I'm not going to be able to see all the code that's going out?
Yeah, so I guess it's a combination of putting the wrong person on the job or not having enough checks and balances or ownership to them, because I've had a few times that a certain team member either isn't as good at the task or is somehow confused and ends up spending way more time on something than I would have expected. And kind of the deal in consulting is everything comes down to time. It's about how much time you spend, you bill hours to your clients. So it was kind of an unexpected loss. And I try to be really, really fair to my clients. So if I give them an estimate that ends up being wrong, or it takes longer than expected, or if somehow there was a miscommunication, I always take responsibility for that, and I always give them proper discounts to make sure that they're happy, because I'm really doing this to grow my network and meet some awesome people and do great work for them. When it comes to me stepping back from the actual work that we do, a lot of times things aren't done the best that they could be. It's a healthy balance I'm really trying to hit with how much code I can look over and how much responsibility I put on a particular team member. Still something that I'm working out. I have this really talented team member. He's my lead developer, and I'm trying to grow him into this position where he can look over stuff as I would to give me the time to focus on other things. It's definitely growing pains. For what it's worth, it's not like I'm losing thousands of dollars. It's usually small losses that are definitely a pain, but they're worth it for the lessons learned.
When you're choosing an employee, are there any traits that are immediate deal breakers, or are there any common traits you see in the successful individuals that you interact or hire?
Something I really value at my company is communication. And that sounds like a word you just throw out there, but it's the kind of thing that I really put into use. For instance, I would have clients send me massive texts or massive emails with all the stuff they want to do. And I try my best to respond within like 10 minutes and just say like, this is all great, man. I'll get on this immediately. Like I really try and just give them an immediate response so they can see that I'm there and I'm ready to help. Even if I don't have the answer, I at least would say, hey man, I'll look into this. I'll get back to you later today, probably around like 5 p.m. or something, just so that they know that I'm right there and I'm receiving what they're saying. For an employee or for one of my team members to lack that communication with me, that's close to getting to a deal breaker. So something I love to tell my team members is, look, I don't care if you can't do something. I don't care if you're going to miss a deadline. Just tell me. Just tell me as soon as possible so that either I can do it or that, we can get somebody else to do it. But it's all about letting me know so that way we can be prepared. I was at this talk yesterday, and this one person said that there's the 5 Ps. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. So I'm trying to make sure that my team members know that they shouldn't be ashamed to let me know something, as long as it's as soon as possible, as soon as they know.
Is there a particular example that really went south because of poor communication that you feel like it shouldn't have?
I mean, I try to give my clients ambitious deadlines, especially when they're in a rush. If they're like, look, man, we need to get something done by Sunday and it's Friday, I really try and help them out. Like, look, man, we'll get that done. I've had cases where team members would commit and then Sunday night rolls around and they say they can't make it or they hardly have done anything. And then I have to step in and do it myself. It just makes for one of those times that I'm sitting doing work Sunday night at 7 p.m. that I thought was already done. It involves me doing more work that could have been done more efficiently. And then I just have to grind through it and, even do things I'm not that good at, which, when I do work for my clients, I want to make sure I'm doing the best work possible.
How are you so positive all the time, man? Is it internal dialogue, or is it like a certain habit or rule you have that allows you to kind of bring your full self to work every day? What is it?
It's a little bit more broad than just what I'm doing in my company. A lot of the reasons why I can be happy and keep doing what I'm doing is just to be grateful. Part of it is being grateful for everything, all the opportunities. And for me, a lot of the hard stuff in what I do is not the work itself. I can sit down, I can grind through 12, 13-hour days, even on weekends. The hard part for me is getting the opportunity to do these things, right? So the opportunity to work with other startups or to get the right connections. And that's the stuff I really want to be able to do. Most of the time, I do like what I do, and I think I'm making some great contributions to the startups I work with and doing some really cool tech stuff that just interests me. The best part of what I do is working with all these incredibly ambitious and incredibly smart people that I'm sure, even if they're not successful in this venture, they're going to be successful in some venture or in some way. That's what kind of gets me up and working on this stuff, working with really just incredible people. So I'm really trying to put my best foot forward and taking the small losses now to try and hit the jackpots later of having really great people in my network as a resource and have myself as a resource to them as well.
I thought you were going to say it earlier when you said the 5 Ps. Marcus Lemonis has something he calls the 3 Ps. He says there are 3 things for the business. It's the people, the product, and the process. And I feel like you have all 3. Pride in your product, caring very much about the people, and really working on getting the process down right.
Yeah, man. I mean, it sounds like I got it all together. There's definitely a lot of stuff that needs to be worked out internally. Definitely hiccups. Things aren't moving as fast as I'd like it. It's a process, man. And yeah, I'm really trying to crank it out. Really excited to see how it goes. For me, the amount of time I put into this is not worth the hourly rate. I'm sure it comes out to for myself is almost certainly not worth it.
What are the most common or limiting misconceptions you find the people you around, so founders or even other coworkers, holding?
So I work with a lot of startups, and so many of them want to do everything as cheaply as possible. So they want to hire developers for free. They want to get stuff done dirt cheap. They want to, just somehow bootstrap something out there. And what happens is their developers, who sometimes are really talented people, they get bought out, right? So Apple or Facebook gives them a great offer and they're gone, right? Bye-bye. And they leave all of their work behind, and it kind of leaves their founder stranded, especially when they're not technical, on where to go. And this is kind of something that I'm trying to fill, right? This is kind of the market I'm trying to help out with. I'm trying to give startups an affordable alternative or affordable balance between getting something that's really, really great work, but it doesn't break the budget, right? It doesn't cost nothing, but it costs enough of a something that they know they're getting something really well. So many times, like I'd be talking to startups and they'd be so hesitant to spend $100 to get something done. It's like a struggle. I'm like, look, man, I understand you don't have a lot of budget, and I understand you're trying to do this as cheaply as possible. But when it comes to the core parts of your business, don't be afraid to really invest in it, especially investing in a team and investing in the kind of things that matter. Because startups that are just trying to willy-nilly do something and do it for free, they are the ones that I've seen not succeed. It's the ones that are super serious, that are willing to do whatever they can to make their team happy. Those ones that I see succeeding. And it's those ones that are the furthest along.
You learn so much outside the classroom. It makes me wonder if there is a valuable class you took in college or a formative one that kind of helped you on your journey today.
So we had this class at my school every week. We had a new entrepreneur or a new successful person come in and just talk. And I love that, man. It was so cool. It was literally like 2 hours every Wednesday night, right at dinner time. There were just people anywhere from lawyers to founders to VPs to CEOs, and they just come in and talk about what they do. And even the person that was teaching / running the class, he has many startups that he's done, and he's incredibly successful himself. And seeing all these different characters and their different success stories and their different failure stories, really just see for an hour how these people talk and what they value and stuff. And definitely some common themes like I see between them.
Was there a specific speaker that really flipped your worldview on something?
One of them that comes to mind without thinking about it a lot is this one guy. Oh, man, I wish I remembered his name. He's basically a news anchor at a local news station. And he was just so charismatic. And, he was the kind of guy that wakes up at 3 a.m. and goes to bed at like 8 p.m. And he just gets up and going and such a powerful work ethic. And he talked a lot about sales and, how entrepreneurship is really just all sales. And when people think about sales, they think about a car salesman or somebody coming up and knocking on the door and trying to sell you something. But sales is ultimately just trying to get someone to somehow work with you, or even when you're trying to like make new friends, right? You're selling yourself. It sounds bad, but when you're talking to someone, you're trying to make yourself sound likable, right? And like a good friend. And you're trying to sell yourself for who you are.
It's so doable to do sales without being slimy or like inauthentic.
Yeah, exactly. You can have authentic sales. It's not like you have to have some motive or some certain like agenda you always need to hit. It often is a win-win. And it's just trying to articulate how you're both winning and how you're both going to work together.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I told myself what I'd like to do is what I had a previous coworker do. And he basically had he came into work at 9, left at 4, and had a stable day job, but he also had all this entrepreneurship stuff he was doing on the side. He had like a wildlife rescue in Florida. He had farms that he run. He had like other just side businesses he'd run. And I think that's so cool that he was doing all that. Obviously very successful, super cool guy. He had his pilot's license. He had a plane in Florida, like just awesome stuff. And that's the kind of thing I would like to do, especially from the start, to have that stability, especially if I have a family, to have the stability of a day job, but also be able to go in these risky ventures and explore some opportunities and work for myself at the same time. Aside from that, if something takes off, I'd be happy to commit to it. For now, I'd love to have a day job. I'd like to work at a somewhat smaller size company where I can make a really meaningful impact, especially decently far along startups. Somewhere around there, man. I mean, it's really hard to say where I'm going to be, but definitely want to be doing some side projects always. I don't think I could manage without something on the side.
If you want, you can do a bid for your business.
I'm trying to build affordable web apps and web platforms for startups. Think dashboards, stuff that's database driven, more powerful than something you get from Wix, doing great dev work, but also really connecting them with the tons of startups that I know and the investors and resources that I have access to. The company is called Stackend Solutions. Find me on LinkedIn. My name's Connor Lake, or shoot me an email at connor@stackendsolutions.com.
There you have it. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast this week. If you go to lazarespodcast.com, you can find show notes. In case you're having trouble typing it in, you can also Google the Lazare Hersey podcast, and it should pop right up. Cheers.